So like, you're like, oh, I'm gonna make coleslaw. I've got a cabbage. That is not a good way to chop. Fine, it's a great way to chop when it's someone else's knife. Yeah, so when I worked in kitchens, I spent I was a chef for about 17 years, I suppose. Once a chef, always a chef though, so I still cook. And I've always had this fascination with knives because they were a tool of my trade, you know. I remember buying my first pay packets, my first proper jobs in kitchens. I'd go out and spend money on a new knife every time I got paid, and it was lovely. I only got a few of the knives I originally bought because when I first started buying knives, I bought globals, and I've worked in so many kitchens, from kitchen to kitchen, from place to place. Somehow, knives go missing, and that's, you know, if you're a knife enthusiast or a chef, you'll understand that people actually sometimes steal knives, which is, I hate to think about people stealing knives, especially if you're in a kitchen, in a small kitchen, and somebody's that you know has run off with one of your knives, because that's a sad thing. But then you've got smaller knives like paring knives and little knives and things that it's so easy to just lose or chuck down the back of a fridge, and you know, then it's gone and you spend the day looking for it, and that's annoying. But yeah, I used to spend time, I used to go out and buy knives, and I used to enjoy using the knives. I used to enjoy the craftsmanship in that knife as well. There's something that's beautiful about a very, very refined edge and a refined thing, which I think a lot of people can appreciate. In a day-to-day kitchen environment, the knives you use, unless you've got your own set of knives, in a catering space, a lot of people will abuse knives. So what you'll end up with in the majority of kitchens that I've worked in, and a lot of other chefs I know, will have sets of Victorinox knives which almost come with the kitchen. They're not owned by any chef, they're just there. Those kitchen knives are the workhorses in the kitchen, so they'll be on a rack somewhere. There'll be a bunch of really horrible serrated plastic handled knives. There'll be some pastry knives, which are everyone loves a pastry knife. You can't not love a pastry knife. Then you've got those big 10-inch Victorinox knives which are like this sort of size, not quite as nice as this, but they're this big, and then people smash them away, and you're chopping up cabbages and you're doing this. So you're like, oh, I'm gonna make coleslaw. I've got a cabbage. That is not a good way to chop, okay? Fine, it's a great way to chop when it's someone else's knife. When it's a Victorinox knife that's going to be sharpened by somebody once a week, fine. If you do that with one of these or one of these, you will roll the edge. The edge will be somewhat lacking after you've smashed it against a chopping board repeatedly for hours on end. It sounds like common sense, doesn't it? But it's just one of those things. If I've got 25 kilo sack of onions to get through to make French onion soup, the last thing I want to be doing is delicately slicing through those onions. If you've got 25 kilos, you've got a time limit, you're going to want to bash through that. Again, use someone else's knife, make sure they don't see you doing it, or use a Victorinox knife which is hanging on the knife. They're almost sacrificial, they're cheap, you know, and they are like the backbone of a kitchen. If you've got yourself a nice handmade knife with a very, very fine edge and you go smashing it on a chopping board, that edge is not going to like it at all. And then you send the maker a message saying, oh, my knife's got a chip in it. And the maker's like, oh, that's weird, why has your knife got a chip in it? And it's because someone's been smashing it against a piece of wood. Now, if you want to smash something a bit against a piece of wood, I recommend buying an axe, because that's what they're designed for. Western knives and Japanese knives have got a a slightly different feel. So like this knife's from Dan, and it's got a little bit more of a Western feel to it. You've got an integral bolster, and you've got like a secondary bevel. So the grind comes down here, and then there's a slightly different angle on the edge. So it's a little bit more robust. Don't want to smash it up against stuff because it's a knife, it's carbon steel. The hardness of the steel increases, so too does the brittleness usually. So if you've got something with a very, very fine edge, which is like a razor blade, which will shave your arm, or like slice wafer thin layers of tomato, that's what it's there for. If you bang it up against stuff, it's a bit like banging a piece of glass up against a piece of rock. You're going to take chips out of it, and you're going to almost cause small serrations in the knife. The edge will roll. As you've got a very, very fine edge, if you bang it up against stuff and use it, that edge is going to start to move, yeah? Because you've got a very, very thin piece of steel right at the edge of the knife. As it starts to flex, again, the more you bang it, the more you flex it, the more pressure you put behind it, the more quickly it's going to go blunt. So if you cut gently with a sharp knife, because it will fall through the food, because it's sharp and you don't have to bang it, your knife will stay sharper for longer. There's two different ways. There's pull cuts, which is this way, and then there's push cuts, which is that way. That way and this way, you're acting in a knife. You're using your knife to slice, not bang, which is, anyway, it's just an easy way of maintaining your edge and looking after your knife better than if you were to smash it around on a chopping board. All these different chopping techniques are great. Don't smash a carbon steel knife up against bone. Don't smash a carbon steel knife up against crab shell, lobster shell, anything that's gonna be hard and brittle. Just don't use your knife for it. Don't open cans with it. Like, there's just a bunch of common sense things not to do with a kitchen knife. Now this one's nowhere near sharp or ground or anything, but this is going to be a nakiri. There's a common thing that people do with nakiris, is they look at them and they go, oh, it's like a cleaver. But still, it's a vegetable knife. It's made for vegetables and it's got a delicate edge, and if you bang it up against a bone, you'll break it. It's as simple as that. It's like saying, oh, I bought a new BMW and I drove it around a plough field and now it doesn't work. And I don't understand why. It's because you haven't bought a tractor. You've got to get the right thing for the right job. So now what have I said? I've said what not to do, haven't I? So I've said, don't smash your knife around and don't be a knob. Be nice to people.
We need your help. If you feel this video was informative or valuable, please hit that like button because it helps us to gain visibility by the YouTube gods. If you want to check out our other knife care videos, click this one over here. If you really want to see how a whole custom knife is made from scratch, check out this video instead. Thank you for watching and hope to see you on the other videos.